everybody, I'm Justin Bone.
I'm Mike Val.
And this is the Bone and Zano Zone, where we are always on the lanes, off the charts, and on the mic.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to an episode of the Bone and Zano podcast presented by BuddiesProShop.com. I am Mike Val, and I am not usually the one that does the openings for our show. Justin is in Michigan, in Grand Rapids, Michigan this week. He is bowling junior gold, and my co-host for the evening is not with us at this time. He is en route. He should be with us momentarily. And if you guys have seen the posts and the stuff we've been putting on Facebook and on YouTube, we know who the co-host is tonight, and we'll introduce him when he joins us momentarily. He had texted me a little while ago. He is about 5 minutes away. So with that being said, we have a lot of stuff to catch up on. We haven't been here in a while. I know we haven't been here in a while. I think the last show we did was right after the PBA draft. That was basically when we talked about the Belmo winning yet another bowler of the year. A lot of stuff to catch up on. Personally, Justin and I finally went to the USBCs and we bowled nationals together. A little recap of that. We gave them a small 3,200 and change in the team event. Was not a bad showing. Justin and I bowled doubles together, and then I unfortunately had a little bit of bad news delivered in the middle of game 2 in doubles. Did not really pan out too well for me in game 3. Did not bowl singles at the USBCs. I actually withdrew. We had a little bit of a family emergency that I had to go attend to. So only bowled team in the doubles there. Did not bowl any squads at the Journal or anything like that. But nationals was fun. The scoring pace was extremely high this year. Like I said, we gave them 3,200. We left a lot of pins out there. We probably had a lookable 33, mid 33s, hundreds, but unfortunately we didn't do it. The team was great. Justin bowled about 670-ish, I want to say, in the team event, and then he came back and he whacked doubles. He bowled great in the Journal. He put up 750, I think, in the Bowler's Journal, and then he put up about 780. I think it's 780 or 790 in the TAT. He led first day of the qualifying out there. So Justin bowled absolutely fantastic and whatnot. So good for my man Justin. He bowled absolutely fantastic. Other than that, I don't really want to get started with the topics at hand. We have 3 of them on the plate for tonight. I guess I will start with the first one. We'll recap the PBA League. I don't really want to get into the beginning matches or anything. I think the only thing that I really want to talk about is the final match on Sunday. That was probably in the 30 plus years I've been watching professional bowling, I have never seen a finish to any kind of a tournament, professional, amateur, local, kids tournament, anything like that. That was an absolute stunner. I was not watching it live, and as I checked social media, everybody just kept saying, never seen a finish like that, never seen a finish like that. And I finally watched it, and I was like, oh my God. The way it went down, they were both pacing 270, 260, and to win the title bowling 190, Prather missing a 9-pin, Packy 7-10ing, the gentleman, the two-handed guy, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name with the big hair, he 210'd. I mean, it was just, it was something I've never seen before. But another one, 3 in a row for Portland, and my man Timmy Mack bringing another banner to Portland. That team is tough. Next year, they're going to probably keep the same core 3 with Troop, Prather. And I would probably say they'd probably keep Hackey. And there's the other one, Matt Ogle. Double would have won it. Matt Ogle leaving the 7-pin, missing it in the gutter. I mean, it was just, you couldn't have written a script like that any better. I mean, I'd say any better, but you couldn't have predicted that. Nobody would have predicted. These are the best bowlers in the world, and they look like the last 3 frames, they look like the Wednesday night men's industrial league bowlers, that's chugging beers and stuffing a hot dog down their throats. They didn't look like professionals, unfortunately. But the other, we'll go back a couple of rounds. The team that really surprised me the most out of this, I think, was Waco. Watching Walter just throw the high hard one with a urethane ball was fantastic, and that is a testament to how good Walter is. There were a lot of people that were criticizing him on social media, criticizing Johnny actually for drafting him. I think, how can you take him? He's in his 60s. He's not what he was. He's the greatest bowler who's ever lived. In an event like that, where you're only throwing 2 balls a game, he's not going to miss the pocket. He's not going to miss a spare. I know he did miss a 10-pin. 1 in every 7 years, Walter will miss a 10-pin. But how are we going to do it? And now, without further ado, my co-host is into the studio. I'm going to bring him on. I'll give him a little introduction. I've known this gentleman since I was 8 years old. I'm 39, so 31 years. Grew up together. This is probably one of the greatest bowling minds I've ever met before, knowledge-wise and of the game itself. So let's bring on John Petraglia Jr., my co-host for the evening. You're on mute, so unmute yourself. So
unmuted.
There he is. All right, so I know you're running a little late here, so just to recap what I'm discussing here was kind of breaking down the PBA League a little bit. Dad's team, I was just on Dad's team. They were the one that surprised me the most this week.
They were the one that surprised me the most this week.
Well,
and on all the courts.
The first game, oh my God. Well, Parker getting the 5-10 out in the first shot. Were you in Maine or no? Were you up there?
No, I stayed home and I bowled a tournament in Scranton at Chaco's Bowling Center.
The Chaco's thing.
Yes.
But Parker getting the 5-10, I was like, oh my God, they're going to shoot. After he got the 5-10, I'm like, they're shooting 300. There's no way they're missing.
Definitely. Felt the same way.
But I was saying it before, I've never, in 30 years of watching bowling, and you're in the same boat I'm in, I've never seen an ending to any kind of a tournament like the way that one ended on Sunday.
What's so crazy is we were bowling the tournament simultaneously, and by that point in the night, the finals were going on for the tournament, and my buddy Joey had brought cornhole boards, so all of us losers that didn't make the cut were outside shooting cornhole in the parking lot while the tournament was finishing up. But I did hear, obviously, and then I did see I saw the highlights of Prater's 9th and Ogle's 10th in Game 5.
My God.
That was
painful.
It was definitely painful. I mean, everybody's human, and I totally understand that, but it is amazing to me to watch the best players the game's ever seen and how many of them are flagging single pins. I mean, you mentioned Dad's team. I would have taken a minus 7,000 to 1 bet that Walter would have made that 10-pin.
Yeah, he misses one every leap year, basically.
Yeah, basically. So
what was funny was people were ripping Dad for taking or for keeping Walter. How don't you keep Walter in a spot like that? He's throwing 1 ball a game. He's never going to miss the pocket. How wouldn't you take him?
Well, I ripped him a little bit too. I not really ripped him, but I was curious where his mind is, because you got to remember a lot of the decisions that Dad makes is often with his heart over and with his his brain in mind. Like let me clear that up. But it's on one end, people would say, well, he kept Walter because Walter throws Brunswick, or he kept Walter because Walter is the winningest player that's ever existed, or whatever reason you want to use. But the haters would say, why would you keep somebody that's in their 60s? Why would you keep somebody that's game doesn't really match ideally to what the lanes offer these days? And my dad's answer was this: the entire time he was a Brooklyn style, the entire time that he's been a member of the PBA League teams, he fills every box.
Yep.
And if you put Walter Ray in the 1 and 6 slot, or anywhere for that matter, and he's going to fill the frame, it's usually pretty comforting to know that.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to put the ball in the best hands. Absolutely.
Definitely.
How about the finish with Norm? Norm saying goodbye.
Dead flushing it for the Lumberjacks on the fill ball.
Yeah.
Did you expect anything less?
No, not a chance.
No.
Johnny, this is no disrespect to anybody that I've met through the years in bowling. Norman, I think, is the greatest bowler I've ever seen.
He's my top 4
easily.
He's easily top 5, most likely top 3 that I've personally seen.
what's your greatest Norm memory? It's probably the same one that I have.
I mean, I've got a couple Norm memories. I mean, for me, the first memory I have of Norm is a long time ago. I mean, I've always been a Brunswick guy, obviously, because of Dad. But at one of the JP Opens, there was a time that Norm was throwing track. And I'm going back to, when I say the ball, you'll remember, he signed for me I believe it was a Track Sensor 2 Reactive, the sky blue pearl one with the pink letters.
Yeah, like that purple thing.
No, the sky blue one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was the week that, so this was like 1996 because that was the week, or 97. No, 97. Because that was the week that Amleto Monticelli bowled 2 300s and 2 299s in the last match play block, throwing that ball.
And that's the one he beat Newman 300, 299.
And when Newman finished sixth. Yeah. So, I believe that was 96. But yeah, and I always liked that ball because of what Amleto was doing with it. And then turns out at the end of that week, that was the ball that Norm gave me signed.
Nice.
So and no grips, no slug, everything sharp as a tack.
Razor sharp. Yep.
Razor sharp. And then my personal other Norm story that I distinctly remember was we were at either a trade show or a convention somewhere, but we were in Turning Stone Casino in upstate New York. And Norm and I had been bullshitting at the bar for maybe half hour, 45 minutes. And I was talking about the system I had learned about playing craps from this guy Jumbo, who's no longer with us from Ohio area. And Norm was hammered and he goes, well, let's go put it to the test. And he handed me $1,000. and he said, I'll most likely not be here by the time you're done. So we'll just square up tomorrow. And it didn't go very well, but I did give him back at least a little bit more than half of his investment. But just having conversation or sitting with him at the track and bullshitting about nothing, playing golf. I mean, all the memories that a lot of people wouldn't have with somebody of that stature that you and I have both been privy to.
Yeah.
But what story were you going to mention?
My favorite Duke memory, it's not even a story, it's just a memory, is he shot 900 at Carolier. I don't care what anybody says.
Firestorm.
Yep. Game 7, Game 8, and Game 1. Crossing the house. He was throwing the high hard one, I believe, to end the block, and then he came out throwing it over to gutter at night.
Yep.
And he was that's 900. I don't care what anybody says. I watched the man.
I agree.
900.
Do you know what he did the next game?
He had a bunch in a row the next game too, didn't he?
The game after that, maybe. The next game after the 900 or game 2 of the night block, he was on 43 and 4 at Carolier, and he bowled 190 with 9 10-pins. I remember that game more than I remember the 900.
It was unbelievable, and nobody knew what he was doing, and it was like a very quiet 900 too.
Absolutely.
But in my opinion, that's 900. I don't care what anybody says.
I think that's 900 too. It may not be.
It's the hardest one to do. I mean, he did it crossing pairs, and
like with a break, a substantial break in the middle too. Talk about having to like reset your body and become reacclimated to the lanes and everything that's going on in that respect. Yeah,
I totally agree. But that's my favorite Duke one. I mean, that was just amazing to watch that. And the man is a magician with a bowling ball.
If we're gonna go on favorite Duke bowling moments, I have a couple. But for me, I really loved the 1994 True Value Open.
I was just going to say that one. Do you think he fouled on purpose?
100%.
Absolutely.
I think he knew in the second frame that he wasn't going to miss again. And I think that he knew he was going to strike out in the 9th and 10th, and he just wanted to make sure that Goebel had to wait an extra 3 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah.
And I think he was really beside himself that Goebel actually threw the first one in the 10th to win that tournament after he'd broken all the scoring records that week.
And if you remember in his interview he had with Bo, he goes, I could have bowled better. I couldn't have scored better. How do you even bowl better? I mean, you're executing shots at the average 260, basically. How are you doing that?
I think in his mind, just based off his performance for the week, he probably didn't leave very many flat 10s. And he's probably pissed off that he maybe got a little pumped up in the second frame because he truly felt he was going to bowl 300. Maybe that's what he was thinking. I mean, he's so good, it's got to be something so minute, you know?
And he had that same look every week that year in 94. He played that same tournament every week.
That's where he won the JP Open from. That's where he won the General Tire from.
He won the Delco. He beat Robert. Robert was an amateur on that one.
Yep.
He had it all going that year. He won Edmund. Was that the one with the? He beat Dickinson. Whatever the. Oh God.
Well,
Choice Hotel.
You even stumped me on that one. God, that's the one I can't remember. I mentioned the other because he won 5 titles in '94, and for some reason I can't remember that one.
Yeah.
Choice Hotel Summer Classic. That wasn't against Gene Stuss. No, that was Dave. I'm thinking of Dave D'Entremont. Wrong year.
I probably was Dickinson.
Could be.
But Duke had it all going on that year. There was no way that he was not winning Bowler of the Year that year.
Yeah, absolutely no way. It was unreal. And even throughout that year, in all of his sideline interviews on the shows that he made, he would not always having to hook the ball, and lately, like he had to. Like that year, he had to adapt to that changing atmosphere around him, and he did it so exquisitely. I mean, it was just really, really awesome. You see that hand getting a little bit more under the ball, a little extra knee bend,
and he had the beard.
And he had the beard. Yeah,
beard
that beard was great.
Yeah, he was one of the first ones that ever had the beard. He feared the beard. He came out that year, and that was it.
Oh, that's damn right. Original facial fescue, Randy.
Yeah. So I thank you, Norm, for all the memories for 40 years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Now, the topic at hand, and we've been working on this for a while. So we've decided to break out. You ever wonder who the best bowler out of every state is, right? Well, we're going to do it tonight. We're going to start it.
I have to admit that I have been looking for my notes, and I'm going to have to do this a little bit by memory, but I'm assuming once you start going, I'll feed off you a little bit.
So I have it here. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it out by regions of the PBA. So we'll do the Eastern region tonight. I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay.
And we'll name a couple guys, talk about their career, and then I guess we'll see what these people have to say. Well, there's probably a lot of people that are here waiting for the arguments to start, and we'll go from there. So I think I'm just going to start with 2 states in the Eastern region, and you should be able to name the 2 guys from the one from each one. They're pretty easy.
Okay.
Rhode Island.
Hang on, I found some information here. I found my list. So
all right.
Hang on. 1 second. Well, Rhode Island, without even looking at Rhode Island on here, let's see.
There's only one name that I can think of in Rhode Island. We bowl juniors with him.
I mean, obviously, you got to throw John Van Hees up there.
That's the one that I'm thinking of. I don't think there's anybody else besides.
I don't think I know anybody that else that originates from Rhode Island that I think would be comparable to a John Van Hees.
No.
So,
I don't know. And he's all the NEBA accolades. Well, he's in the Rhode Island State Hall of Fame.
And he's hands down one of the best around. Yeah. And certainly from there.
Were you there the day he broke the JBT scoring record in Mid-State?
I was not.
Yeah, he bowled like 350 over for 5 at Mid-State. That was a good center too.
My God.
All right, so we're gonna give Van Hees Rhode Island, obviously.
I like that. We'll give Van Hees Rhode Island.
Let's go to Delaware.
Delaware.
There's only one guy I thought about at Delaware too.
Well, again, now we're considering amateurs and professionals by stature here in our assumption for who wins for each state.
Yeah, the way we figured it out, the way I kind of worked this out was the bowler had to be, I want to say born out of that state, but bowled out of the state. Amateur and or professional, doesn't matter. So I came up with only one guy out of the state of Delaware. And he has a title.
And he has a title out of Delaware?
Out of Delaware. I will tell you this. I'll give you another hint. He is no longer with us. He passed away a couple years ago.
You're not talking about Adam Subak.
No.
Because that was my pick because he's the only bowler that I really know from there. Can you give me a hint?
He beat Weber for his only title.
What year?
95. He's made a show at the National before. Guy's made a bunch of shows.
Jim Johnson Jr.
Correct.
Wow. Yeah, he made the show at the '98 National Championship after Pete was back after his suspension and lost in the first match to Albee.
Yeah. That's the only one I could think of.
Totally forgot about Jim Johnson Jr.
And
Ironically,
Subak was a really good player.
Another one gone too soon.
Absolutely. He had that backup ball with a Gold Rhino Pro. He was really good at that.
He kicked everybody's ass throwing backup rubber at JBTs in the Wood Centers. I remember him bowling in Belleville, averaging 240, doing what I was doing, but like I do it with that hand.
Yeah, he was doing it before anybody else was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to give Delaware to Jim Johnson. I can't think of anybody else. Like I said, no disrespect to Subak, but Johnson has a national title.
Agreed.
And if anybody else is here who wants to type in and critique or debate us, we welcome the comments on this one.
Yes, please do.
All right, so let's hop a little more here. Let's go to Maryland.
Maryland. I'm gonna go with.
I got 2 out of Maryland.
You got 2 out of Maryland?
Yeah, one's an obvious one.
I have the obvious one being Danny Wiseman.
That's the obvious one. I'll give you a hint.
Go right ahead. I love hints.
He made the show. He's made 2 shows at the JP Open. And he has a major. And he has one of the greatest nicknames ever on tour.
From Maryland?
Bel Air, Maryland.
Oh, Tim the Turtle Chris.
Turtle, of course.
I'm going to go with Danny Wiseman.
Yeah, I'm going to give Danny it too. Danny's the obvious one there, but those are the only.
Obviously, Tim is a great player, but for me, Danny takes the cake on that.
100%. Danny is the guy. Now, I don't have anybody for Vermont or New Hampshire.
I have one for New Hampshire.
You have one for New Hampshire?
I am. I'm going to give that to of the few Steve Hardy.
Steve Hardy, there's a good one.
I mean, now he's in Arizona, but I mean, I remember watching. I know I have some old shows. I want to say from the early '90s, like early couch days, that Steve Hardy had made a show, at least one show, and has always been a top player in the amateur ranks. And anything around the area, Steve Hardy's always in the running for the cut, or at least the show. So he would be my New Hampshire pick.
I didn't know he was from New Hampshire. I knew he was from New England. I didn't know where.
Now, well, I think he's from New Hampshire. I mean, we used to go to Strikers East Bowling Center.
Yeah, he had that big $10,000 tournament.
Yeah, that was an awesome, well-run event. It was a good place to be, that event.
Now, let's go to Maine.
This is where I'm stumped.
All right, this is where I got a little stumped too.
I think you may have one pick.
Well, so I got 2 out of the state of Maine. Okay. So I was told, and I don't know if this is true or not. I have to. One's a Hall of Famer. They're both Hall of Famers. One of them moved to Connecticut in his career. He bowled out of Connecticut for majority of his career on tour.
But he's originally from Maine?
Yes.
Amateur, professional, or both?
No, professional. The other one is a 25-time titleist on tour.
25-time titleist on tour from Maine?
Yeah. Well, I was told he was born in Maine. A couple people have confirmed he was born in Maine, moved to Anchorage, Alaska. Then he bowled
Brian Voss?
Brian Voss.
Brian Voss, no shit. See, I would have never known that.
I never knew that either, but people have told me Voss was born in Maine.
Well, then it's going to take a big name for you to trump that one for the best bowler out of Maine then.
Pete Couture is the other one.
Not Voss.
I give it to Voss. Couture, I thought, would have came out of Connecticut. I didn't know he was born in Maine.
I had no idea either.
Now, I don't know how true that is. If Voss was born in Maine, we can probably figure that out, you know.
Yeah, probably.
Now, let's hop over to Jersey. So, I'm not going to put Dad in Jersey because Dad is from New York.
Correct.
There's the one obvious one. But
Yes.
there's one other name that I have to put in there.
Okay.
Timmy Mack.
That is, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that Tim Mack is a better bowler than Parker Bone III.
No.
I just can't do it.
I agree.
But I will agree with you in the respect that if we were only talking about if we were eliminating one of the most decorated bowlers the sport's ever seen, or we were eliminating the quote unquote professional level simply because Tim chose to do differently for his prime. So you take Parker out of the equation, then you throw somebody like Tim Mack into the equation to take that. But
Tita was the other one, but Tita did a lot of his stuff in the senior tour. I wouldn't, and no disrespect to Tita, but it's Parker, obviously. When you think of bowling in New Jersey, Parker's the first name that pops in.
And another name that I will always associate with the best in New Jersey is Kelly Kulick.
That is a very good point there. Never would have thought of her on this one. Very good point there.
Yeah, that's just simply from watching her in the bowling alley every day growing up and just working on something. I mean, another Carolier and New Jersey legend in the PWBA is Marianne DeRupo. Yeah, I mean, can't ever forget those two when you're talking about the true best our state. Now, obviously, us being from where we are, I want to throw in a couple local amateur names that may not be known across the global U.S. or anything along those lines. The continental U.S.
We'll play the guessing game here.
Well, I have 3 guys from New Jersey that I would put on a plane and take anywhere to bowl against anybody on anything at any time.
Right now, or this is in a different era?
I don't know if some of them are bowling anymore. I know just in general, I mean, in a different era, 100%.
Mike
maybe
has to be one of them.
That's one.
JD has to be the second one.
That's 2.
Joe Pompilio has to be the third one.
You're the worst. I love you.
I know.
It's those 3. It's those 3.
Yeah, it's Reisner, Pompilio, and JD. And people probably know JD more than the other 2.
I would say that simply because he was around a lot more places.
Yes.
He would bowl the mega bucks. He would travel. He's virtually at a tournament every weekend, even to this day.
That was his living.
Yeah. He's got his regular job, and then he's got his supplemental income, and it's still working out. So yeah.
JD, there was nobody better than JD in the late 90s. On the amateur scene in the East Coast, the guy was fantastic. Nobody.
The ball, when he let the ball just made sense, if that makes those 3 guys, when they let the ball go, it's like the ball knew, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. Whether they were all just the ball just to do when those guys let it go.
I can see that. Pompilio had a ball roll that was better than the ball roll on tour. I remember I went to it was Sproul Lanes in Pennsylvania to watch a tour stop, and I was having lunch with Randy, and Joe was bowling the stop. And Randy Peterson looked right at us and said, Joe Pompilio throws it better than 95% of the guys on tour right now. And that was when they had the exempt field. Joe threw it like a dream.
Joe was, for anybody that doesn't know the way Joe looks getting to the line, Joe was a little hunched over at the waist, very athletic build, athletic legs.
Very muscular.
And he would stay cupped, super, super loaded, but he would also kind of lift with his elbow a little bit. So he'd have the bent over strong position, the cupped wrist, the cupped elbow, and he would almost uncoil the entire cup of the elbow to this absolute unveiling explosion point, similar to, say, a Robert Smith release.
Yeah.
But his ball was so crazy about it is no matter where he was playing, it was always looking at the pins. It never went away from the pins.
He kind of looked like Newman a little bit at the line.
Yeah, Newman with a little less unorthodoxness.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, a little more like if you put Mike Newman and Adam Barta together, you would make Joe Pompilio.
That's a very good comparison.
Yeah,
for Reisner, I don't know if you've seen Mike since you've been back. Mike has no knees, basically. The guy needs a double knee replacement.
I haven't seen him since I've been back, but I know that he's always had some physical ailments.
Oh yeah, he's in bad shape. He was bowling my league last year. He quit after maybe 9 weeks. He couldn't walk to the line. I mean, it's bad.
That's a shame.
It is a shame. But for those who don't know Mike Reisner, that man had an arm swing high as couches did.
Yeah, and he would still uncoil his wrist at the top of it. He would get all the way up there, and then he would open it.
Exactly. He was unbelievable, and I believe he also Oh no, he does. He also has an 899.
Super Beast, Hill Lanes.
How did we forget this one?
I have no idea how we forgot that one. I
How
am
did we forget
so fucking
Fedorian?
embarrassed. Am I allowed to say the F word on here?
Yeah, it's okay. I let it go every once in a while.
Oh, okay. I am so embarrassed that we did not mention Carolyn Doran Ballard. Oh my god.
And Kathy too.
Hell yeah. That's a flop on our end. Good call there.
There's been a lot of really good AMs out of New Jersey through the years.
Oh heck yeah.
Jay Cruz. Jay Cruz? Yeah.
Jay Cruz, John Asbeatty, Dave Eisenberg,
and nobody
Walter Hastings.
That. Yeah. Walter Hastings. Nobody knows that John Asbeatty came out of New Jersey. Everybody just associates him with DeAndre living in Chicago. John started here, man.
John was my hero in junior bowling, like long before I think him and DeAndre even met.
Yeah. John was the hero here.
Remember Lou Franzetti?
Louis Franzetti. He's now in Indianapolis, I think.
Yep.
And you go to Walter. There was nobody in junior bowling better than Walter Hastings when we were kids.
Jen Russo,
but Walter had it all, man.
Oh yeah,
he was just ridiculously talented.
Yeah, he made that Jade Piranha C and that Kuda C look pretty appetizing.
And he had that Sports Tech Tiger referee stripe wrist guard on.
Yep, so weird. Yeah, and he still did what he did at the bottom.
I'll give you another one. And this is a little bit of an older guy.
Okay. Paris Gualtieri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gualtieri.
Oh yeah, way up there. That's why I said it's like, well, what's happening right now is because we're both from here. I'm sure every state has the prodigies like this.
Oh yeah.
But the thing for me is, lived in Ohio, Kentucky, New Jersey, and Vegas. I'm still taking all the guys we're talking about as the top batch, and that's bowling with a lot of people.
I just want to correct this here. John Furry is John Fury. He's actually from New Jersey, and he does not have a 900. So, Derek, I'm going to have to correct you on that one.
Happy belated birthday, Mr. Fury. I actually just saw him over at Howell Lanes and Rev Rates. It was yesterday, but happy belated.
All right, so let's bounce around a little more. Let's go back up to New England, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's go to Massachusetts.
Alex Aguiar.
Now, no disrespect to Double A, but there's two other ones out of Massachusetts that I got in addition to Alex. And if you ask Alex, he will tell you one of the two is his best out of the state.
Okay, well, if it's not going to be Alex for you, then it's definitely going to be Brian Bogosian, if he's from Mass.
He is, but I don't even have Brian B on my list.
You don't. And we're doing straight Massachusetts right now, right?
This is what I was told. Massachusetts. Yeah. One of them is a Hall of Famer.
Okay. I'm trying to look at because I wrote down two names from Mass also, just in case this came up.
One's a lefty, one is a righty. The Hall of Famer is a righty.
Are we talking about Willie Willis?
No, Willie Willis is in another state. We'll get to Willie in a little bit.
Oh, okay, that's the wrong state.
No, wrong state. The Hall of Famer bounced around. He must have lived in 20 cities when he bowled on tour in a motorhome. And I think he was one of the best urethane bowlers in the 80s, period. Like there was Pete, there was Ballard, there was Albee, there was Marshall, and there was this guy. This guy with a black hammer, all those urethane balls. This guy made him look great. One other hint?
Yeah, because I was only half listening because my notes are so spread out right now, and you're bouncing around these states. So I'm like trying to hunt for them because I took them down so long ago. Go again.
He's 5'5"
from Massachusetts.
He was born in Massachusetts, and there he is, the tapper, Tapwater checking in, Johnny.
Charlie, I didn't know Wayne Webb was from Mass.
I didn't know that either. Alex Aguiar actually told me Wayne Webb was born in Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
And do you want the other one from Massachusetts?
Give me some hints first, because now you have my undivided attention.
He won the U.S. Open. He's a lefty.
Okay, hang on. It's not Mike Scroggins.
It is not the party at Scroggy's.
Amarillo, Texas. He won
And
the
Alex
U.S. Open.
Aguirre
He's a
will tell
lefty.
you- Alex Aguirre will tell you this guy has the greatest arm swing ever.
I'm stumped.
Paul Mosier.
Oh, Alex's coach. 1978 U.S. Open. Made the 5-6 on that show. Spammo.
Yes, he did.
Spammo.
So Mosier and Webb, I think, are the two.
I know I'm going to get crucified for this one.
What, not saying Alex?
I'm going to go with Alex.
Are you really?
It's very, very hard for me to say that because Wayne Webb is one of the best bowlers that existed on this planet ever. And I think he's got one of the most beautiful games and one of the most beautiful releases in the world. And he is established. And, you know what? I'm done. I personally think that Alex is so good.
He's very good.
He is so good. And he is what turns me on about Alex's game is if you watch Alex bowl, you have no idea what's going on. Like if you only watched him from the side, you don't know if he's bowling 270 or 170. He's so even keeled. He's so controlled. He never, ever, ever takes himself out of a tournament mentally. He's committed and structured when he's at tournaments. He knows what he's got to do when tournaments are over. So as a whole, and because he was one of my groomsmen in my when I was married, I mean, it's shitty of me to take a Hall of Famer and 20-something time PBA champion and PBA millionaire and bowling center owner and dear friend and put him behind Alex Aguirre out of the best in Mass. But with all due respect, I never even considered Wayne Webb to be from Mass. I didn't know he was from Massachusetts.
And here's another one. I didn't know this one either. I knew he was from New England. I didn't know he was from Massachusetts. Charlie Tapp giving us another one, a PW staffer.
Oh, yes.
Jimmy Pritz.
Jimmy Pritz. I've seen him relatively recently out in Vegas.
He's bowling again, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he still looks good.
Yeah.
He's got that weird fan hand that you're like, how does that strike?
Follow through.
Yeah, short and
open. Off to the side. He was like, oh, my God. So I have to – we'll agree to disagree. Alex is one of the best amateurs in the country.
Agree.
If I had to give my top three amateurs in the country, it's John Janowitz, Alex Aguirre, and Adam Barta. Those are my top three amateurs in the country.
That's a damn safe bet.
Yeah, and no disrespect to Alex, but I have to give it to Webb.
I'll crack and give it to Webb just because I didn't know he's from there, but I am slightly skewed because until this moment, I never even knew that Wayne Webb lived anywhere near Massachusetts, let alone in it.
I'll give you this one. If Alex bowled on tour, he would have at least 5 titles.
I agree with that.
That's 100%. And you know what? He's happy doing what he's doing as a business owner, successful shop owner.
Damn right.
He's
a family man.
Family man. He's an awful putter. We learned that a couple months ago.
He is not a good putter.
And he can't win a bet against me to save his life. But no, I have to give the Wayne Webb. I mean, Wayne Webb was.
I'll meet you in the middle. I'll say the best pro ever out of Massachusetts is Webb, and the best amateur is
Alex Aguirre.
I'll meet you in the middle.
Now let's have some more fun. Let's go to Connecticut.
Oh boy.
Now this is where it's going to get a little hairy.
All right.
So
I have you start.
All right. I have 1, 2, 3. I have 6 out of Connecticut.
I have 4.
All right. Well, I know for a fact that the father and son duo is on your list.
Mike and Larry Lickstone.
Mike and Larry.
Yes, they are.
I am going to give another one. The gentleman who is probably hasn't cut his hair in 30 years is on my list.
He's on mine too.
Okay, so there's 3.
Chris Viali.
I'm going to give you the first African-American to bowl in the Firestone is on my list.
He's on mine too.
All right, Willie Willis.
Yep. I just had the wrong state earlier.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give you one of the best bowling coaches in the country, and he is a former center proprietor in Vernon Hills, Illinois. We bowled in college against his son.
Oh, Bill Spigner?
Bill Spigner.
Is from Connecticut?
I was told.
Oh yeah, Hamden, Connecticut. That's right.
Yeah,
I remember that 27 U.S. Open because he lost the U.S. Open to my dad.
Yes, he did. And the last one, your father gave me this one.
Oh.
Tony Therese.
Should we go get Dad in the booth?
Nah. We're gonna get
Because
Dad.
I don't know Tony.
I don't know that much about Tony Therese. Now, this is where it's gonna get a little hairy. Mike Lichstein, I think, is one of the top 5 lefties of all time. Professional, amateur. I will put Mike Lichstein on the Mount Rushmore of left-handed bowlers.
Okay.
I don't care. He looks like a chicken going to the foul line.
Okay.
He is fantastic. Now, in hanging out with Larry at the convention this spring, Larry told me a lot about himself. I didn't realize all the ABC accomplishments Litch had. Now,
I probably don't know them either.
He has a couple Eagles with your father.
2 of them.
He told me a story where he lost one because he flew home.
Really? And at that time, they gave away, I believe, belt buckles with real diamonds in them.
It was something along those lines.
He's got them in the trophy case. I'll go look at them.
He was telling us they bowled a team event with Ernie, Mike McGrath, and somebody else.
Butch Gearhart, the late Butch Gearhart.
Yeah, that was the guy. And they were, I'm going to say they were even. And they had the night block to go. And Litchie was like, this is it. I'm done. We're not making the finals. If you qualified to bowl the next day, Litchie flew back to Connecticut. Well, they made the finals. And Litchie's in Connecticut, and this is in California. The ABCs were in California. Litchie's not getting back. So your father found a guy up in the stands. It was an all-lefty team. And he got the guy, and they had one eagle.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about right now? Because when they won the Eagle, they had Schlegel on their team.
This is another one. Then this was the
because I don't know if I know this story. Then I only know the story about when McGrath had to shoot the 3.56 in the 10th frame for them to win the Eagle.
I don't know that one.
Okay, so you share yours because this is a new story for me.
The one I know is that they bowled in California. It was right before the Masters, and they bowled whatever it was. Let's just say they got to even for the block, right? They had teams coming in to bowl at night, and Litchie was just fried out. I'm going home. We're done. He wasn't bowling the Masters or whatever it was. So Litchie flew back to Connecticut, and somebody called him and said, where are you? We're in. He goes, what do you mean we're in? Well, we qualified. We're the number. We're in. Well, I'm not here. I'm in Connecticut. And they all lost their mind. So your father, and I don't remember the guy's name. I don't remember who dad got out of the crowd to bowl. But the rule was you couldn't have bowled already or been entered in the tournament. And this guy was from Detroit, I think. Dad got him out of the crowd, and he ended up bowling, and they won the Eagle. They did not give Larry an Eagle because he was not in the finals. So he called himself an Eagle. I
did not know that.
So he had
learn something new every day.
6 second-place finishes on tour, 1 title, plus all the NEVA accomplishments.
And some of the best pants ever.
Yeah.
Or Larry.
Yeah. Now, what's your story with when they won the Eagle with Larry?
No, I remember that my dad saying that like Mike McGrath was physically shaking you as a young buck from Cali when they had the chance to win the first Eagle, and like he missed the 3.56 so bad to win the Eagle that he skinned the 3-pin on the left side and it caromed off the wall and it spun twice and it knocked out the 6-pin. That was the story. That's where I got confused. We were talking about the all lefty team. I'm like, the year I'm thinking about is the year that they bowled with Schlegel. Hello, John.
John Daniel.
Speaking of one of the best New Jerseys that we've already talked about on this show.
Yes. So that's Larry. Now, how do we describe Mike?
Mike is the kind of person that you wish everybody was like.
He never has anything bad to say about anybody's hands always out.
He's always happy. He's always welcoming, engaged in anything that you're talking about. He's extremely respectful on the lanes while simultaneously ready to destroy every opponent he bowls into the ground.
So on the bowling side, he's won the roller twice.
How many and the eliminator.
And the eliminator. How many team challenges has this guy won?
More than I could. I mean, I don't. I was a little too young for the team challenge era. I was not really watching a bunch of the team challenges, and definitely never had the opportunity to compete in any. But I'm assuming he won numerous
He won
titles.
a bunch of those. He has 34 NEBA titles
at least now.
He is the all-time winningest bowler in NEBA history.
Made his first show at the Beaumont Doubles with Patrick Allen as his partner in 1992.
Yep. I mean, you got to put Litchie on that. You know that I don't think he ever won the Hoinky, but Litchie is in that that Mount Rushmore out of Connecticut. Now you go to Viale.
Mm-hmm.
So Viale, I think, is famous for that gutter ball at the high roller show.
Yeah, for anybody that hasn't seen it, you know when they show you the bowler taking the approach, let it go, and by the time they get to the lane, the ball's around the arrows, and then they'll show you the continuation of the ball through the pins.
No. I don't think his ball made it to the dots.
I think his ball maybe reached the dots.
But he was playing one on that show.
Yeah, he missed one right.
But again, a guy who's won all over the world.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, Willie Willis, Bill Spigner. So, well, Willie won the Resident Pro to get into Firestone.
Mm-hmm.
Willie was, I believe, he's the second African American to win a PBA title.
Second?
Charlie Venable, I think, was the first.
Charlie Venable made the show at the 1977 U.S. Open. I didn't know if he actually had any titles before his untimely death.
No, I think he had a regional, and he didn't. He never won.
Oh, you're talking about got it. That could very well be. Just in general, then yes.
We know Willie won the Resident Pro.
Definitely.
And Bill Spigner speaks for himself.
Absolutely.
Now, I know Tony Therese won a lot of regionals. That's what we're getting told. But in my opinion, out of Connecticut, John, I have to give it to Mike Lichstein.
Agreed.
So we're going to agree on Mike Litch?
We are going to agree on Litchie for Connecticut.
Absolutely. On Mike Litchie.
On Mike Litchie. Yeah, we are.
Now, we have two left in the Eastern region. Let's do the easier of the two, I think. Let's go to Pennsylvania.
Oh, you're going to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we're going to save New York for the last one.
Okay, then.
With New York, I think is going to be... That's the longest list I have.
Okay.
Unless you want to get New York out of the way now.
No, we can go with Pennsylvania first. I have one very obvious one.
Our age? Is he our age?
He is our age.
We bowl juniors with him?
We bowled juniors with him.
Bill O'Neill.
Correct.
All right. So we agree with that one.
There are other bowlers in Connecticut that I've also really admired and are always kick ass. I mean, Milton, Pennsylvania's got Andy Nyer. And that's somebody who's always been in contention in everything he's ever bowled. And still to this day. I mean, he's another one. Gosh. Where's Darryl Bauer from?
He's from Pennsylvania. He was on my list. Darryl Bauer made my list.
I can't put Darryl Bauer ahead of Bill O'Neill for the best in Pennsylvania, but I can consider him one of the best in Pennsylvania.
All right. And just to break balls because he is watching, we could put our friend John Spence on the list of best bowlers out of the state of Pennsylvania. He is a high roller super champion. Now, and
we definitely forgot about the other side of Pennsylvania. Totally forgot about Bob Learn and Ron Palumbi.
You're forgetting one other one too out of Erie.
Mike Machuga.
Mike Machuga.
Yeah.
Now,
Pennsylvania, shit, that's a tough state, especially from east to west. But still, Joey Hutch is up there too, and he's still bowling. I just saw him this weekend too.
Yeah, he bowled the Chacos, right?
Yep. Now, but of all the aforementioned names, I'm still gonna probably take Bill O'Neill as number one.
I may have to stop you on that one.
Okay, go right ahead.
Coming from your father.
Okay.
This man was born in Pennsylvania.
Again, with the born shit.
Yeah, when I tell you who it is, you're not going to believe it.
All right.
Hall of Famer, lefty, Brunswick guy.
Mike Albee?
No. He's
Not
probably
Parker.
not Parker. He's probably around Dad's age. He's a 2-time Firestone champion.
Dave Davis?
Dave Davis. And I didn't know he was born out of Pennsylvania. Dad told me he was born in Pennsylvania. I don't consider him a Pennsylvania guy ever.
No, I consider him a Georgia boy.
Correct. So I would agree with you. PA would have to go to Bill O'Neill.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of, and we're missing a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure. But
how about amateur-wise, John Delp?
John Delp, I mean, God almighty, there's so many solid bowlers out of Pennsylvania, dude.
And Pennsylvania's an enormous.
It is, and it's log jammed on the east and west side of the state too.
What's the other guy's name? Charlie Fano out of Philadelphia, older guy.
Definitely.
The other guy, he won the roller. Oh my God, it's a big dude from Philadelphia. He was a big John. I'll give you another name out of Connecticut. That one popped up. How about John Kirker out of Connecticut?
Oh yeah, hell yeah, and he can kick your ass too.
Oh my God, he could bench press Buick.
He could bench press me and you together.
Yeah,
still to this day.
Here's another one, Ed Ressler out of Pennsylvania.
Heck yeah. See, this is where we're skewed when it comes to
See, Spence had another good one here. Mike Taylor.
Wow, that guy.
Mike Taylor is from California.
Mike Taylor might be the only bowler I think that could beat me with a plastic ball.
How about a rubber ball?
Rubber.
You ever see that rubber ball he has?
The rubber ball match would be a better match than the plastic ball match.
Absolutely.
I think that he would smoke me with plastic.
Really?
Yeah, I think I would beat him with rubber.
Yeah,
or at least have a chance.
You have the lefty advantage there. Who is the
guy? I still got a blank case of rubber LTs. I could just drill them,
Yeah, you drill them. Yeah. Who is the guy I'm thinking of out of Philly? He was a big, tall guy. God, I can't think of his name. Here's another one, Bill Beach.
Absolutely.
Bill Beach was the first player to win on the senior tour.
Bill Beach was very close with my former father-in-law out when we were in Youngstown, Ohio, right on the border of PA.
All right.
I had a lot of good stories about Bill Beach for sure.
This is a hard one, though. There's so many guys out of PA.
Yes, absolutely. Again, we're trying to go with at least ones that everybody knows, everyone's aware of, and present our cases. So we actually looking forward to it. The other names, New York.
Let's get right to it. New York.
I have 7 on my sheet for New York right now.
I have 12.
Okay.
All right.
Want me to start? You want to start, or you want me to start?
Well, let's just put. We'll take Dad off the list. Well, that's on both of ours. We know that.
Dad is on there, and we'll take Mark. And we'll take Mark Roth off.
Yep. Roth and Dad are off. So those two are gone.
Okay. I got Dave Ferraro.
I have Ferraro.
I've got Dougie Fresh, Kent.
I have Douglas.
I have Joe Berardi.
I have Berardi.
I have Michael Newman.
I have Newman as well.
That is everybody I have on my list for New York.
Okay, you're missing a couple, and you're gonna kick yourself in the ass when you hear this.
Well, remember, I don't have Joe Scianna on here.
2-0 Mets, by the way.
Let's go, Mets.
How about an error in the outfield? By the way, how about me sitting next to A-Rod at the Met game Saturday?
Yeah. Fuck.
Or seeing Q in the
that was more exciting to me. I was more excited to sit with Q.
All right. How about Buffalo, New York? Hall of Famer.
Tom Baker.
Yeah,
give me the hints, and I'll try and rattle them off.
The lefty. On the lefty.
Patrick Allen.
Patrick Allen.
All you have to say was lefty.
Yeah,
okay. Patrick Allen.
Another Brooklyn guy. Won the U.S. Open. Won the national championship. And now he deals poker at the Borgata.
Mike Durbin.
No, Mike Lemongello.
I'm sorry. Yep. Mike Lemongello. Who was one of my dad's groomsmen. I don't know if you know.
Was he really?
And his brother Petey.
I didn't know that. Ralph Engen, your father gave me his name.
100%. if you want to bark up that tree, then we got to talk about who the heck was the other guy? The huge action player, always in trouble. Can't think of his
Jeff
name
Kidder?
right now. Jeff Kidder is not who I was thinking of. Richie Hornreich.
Richie Hornwright was another one. Yeah, I think we're forgetting the.
I mean, you got to kind of, I guess, include Liz Johnson.
I was just going to say that the best female bowler.
And honestly, Ryan Simonelli.
How about Rudy?
Rudy, 100%.
We're forgetting one.
I'm not going to throw Brad Angelo or Jack
No.
Jurek into the mix of the best in New York.
No, not those two.
Although Brad, the way he's been bowling lately, shit. I mean, he is creeping up there quickly. Yeah. I mean, he's whacking him. But where are we going now? What part of New York?
Up Western New York.
So closer to Cheektowaga, Grand Island area, Geneva.
This is probably the biggest what-if career in the history of bowling.
Whoa. More than Mike Newman?
No, it's not. It's professional.
I said more than Mike Newman?
100%, because this guy's record is just, it's disgusting.
The biggest what if, but he has a title.
He has 5. I can't believe you can't figure who this is. The guy should be a Hall of Famer.
Give me another hint, man. Is
you
he
saw
ready?
him Sunday at Chaco's.
I saw him Sunday at Chaco's. Sammy Ventura?
No.
Oh, he's up there too for New York.
Yeah, but I'm not going to put Sammy there. How are you forgetting Ryan Schaefer?
Oh, my God. Horseheads and Elmira. Those are both cities in New York.
Yeah.
Shit. All right.
Now, that's what I think. The biggest what if ever. He has
a dozen major shows.
And what,
he's
5
made
or 6 runners-ups?
And a dozen major shows, dude. A dozen.
5 titles. He's the biggest what-if resume ever in the history of the PBA Tour. What if this carried? What if he got that break?
Mm-hmm. And the shame of it is he usually performs well on TV, too. It's not like he's going out there and bowling 160 for the title. It's not like he's out there choking or worried. He's really gotten unlucky on the shows that he's made.
He's gotten beat. He never beat himself for these majors.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Duke's always had his number on these shows.
Mm-hmm.
How many majors has Duke beat him for? At least
I can think of 3.
Yeah. Couch got him twice.
Yep.
In the Tournament of Champions.
Weber, I think, got him twice.
I think, didn't O'Neill get him for the? No. West got who got him at Carolier? Tommy Jones got him at Carolier.
Yes, that was like 05-06, right?
Yeah, that was one of the first U.S. Opens at Carolier.
That's right.
So now, how do we break this down? So if we go strictly by titles, Roth has it.
When we say the best bowler to come out of the state, what exactly is the indication? Like, in other words, are we talking about simply the most talent, the most decorated, the lengthiest career? Are we talking about the consistency of career? There's so many different things we can measure, because the most I think the best bowler that ever came out of New York was Mark Roth, because Mark Roth not only innovated the game that everybody else eventually imitated, Mark Roth made every spare he shot.
Yeah.
In an era where everybody did the same thing. Not only did he do something different, he's basically like what Belmo is to bowling now.
Roth was like legal steroids to a bowling ball.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So I think it's hard to refute, or it's hard to say that people like a Dave Ferraro, a Doug Ken, a Mike Newman, and a Joe Berardi are better than Mark Roth. In the same respect, I don't think Mark Roth's game nowadays would yield nearly what he had back then. If anything, I think that spinner type release would inhibit him from ever winning on today's conditions.
Funny? I run a Facebook group called Bowling Memorabilia and Stories, and I actually posted a question there yesterday. Who are the top 5 bowlers in the 80s with urethane?
Brian Voss.
I said Voss.
Well, tough with Roth, because Roth was player of the year 77, 8, and 9, and then wasn't player of the year again until 84.
See, I thought urethane hurt Roth.
Okay, fine.
And that's my opinion.
Holman.
Because think of it this way. Like, Roth had a trick that he made a plastic ball act like a urethane ball back in that era, right?
Correct. Yes.
Now, when the urethane ball came out, he kind of had to revamp his game like Weber had to do it when went from urethane to resin.
Mm-hmm.
So I think urethane actually hurt Roth a little bit.
Okay, well then Marshall Holman.
David Ozio.
David Ozio was great with urethane.
Webb
Player
was
of the
great.
Year in 1991. Wayne Webb is another one.
Albee.
Dave Ferraro was amazing with urethane.
Yep.
Amazing with urethane.
Mark Williams.
Mark Williams is good with urethane and plastic.
That is true.
Mark eventually with that funky bent elbow, he had to add that pinky hole, and then he was okay with resin for a decent while through the mid 90s, but his game definitely changed when urethane went away as the dominant substance.
Cook was another one.
Steve Cook, yeah, untouchable.
Resin killed Cook.
100%.
So
resin hurt pretty much every single lefty. To this day, the reason lefties don't throw resin is because it still hurts them. There's a reason, like everybody always says, oh, just give the lefty a purple hammer. Dude, we're throwing the purple hammer because if you've ever seen a lefty try and migrate inside the third arrow and we miss a board inside, we don't six pin, guys. We miss the head pin right. Yeah, that's what happens. We'll change your hand. Do this, do that. Great. I'll change my hand. And then in a game, when every righty in the building is laying it down on 20, 25, now I have even less hold and even more skate when I miss out throwing resin. So just keep that in mind.
That's for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But now, getting back to your question about what we're looking at for the bowler out of New York.
Yeah.
I mean, Roth's career is the best out of anybody we mentioned.
Yes.
But all around total everything.
My dad's
career is fantastic. 6 decades, right?
With a 7th decade with cashing.
Yes. So nobody has that record. And you throw in the Eagles as well.
Mm-hmm. 2 Eagles, 15. Well, they only say 14, but he did win the doubles with Jason Hurd in 2001, which should have been considered a national title.
Yeah.
But yeah, 14 national, 18 regionals, 2 ABC Eagles.
How many senior titles?
8 senior titles.
So he has
Triple Crown, televised 300.
35 career PBA titles, roughly 40?
Roughly. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's say 40. 40 career titles.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go to who? How about Liz Johnson?
Oh, I said her earlier. There's
that. I mean,
that's
the only one.
She is one of the best bowlers I've ever seen bowl.
Yes.
She is the Walter Ray Williams Jr. of the ladies.
I agree. But
she
rivals Roth's numbers. Like resume-wise.
Resume-wise, again, I'm saying this because it's more fact-based. It's not opinionated. During the predominant years of Liz Johnson's career, the talent pool on the PWBA tour or the LPBT was way less than the men's tour. And what I mean by that is if you look at every woman's show, the ladies on the show was Carolyn, Leanne Barrett, Michelle Feldman, Kim Adler, Tammy Turner, Cara Honeychurch. You would never see different Marianne DeRupo, Kelly Kulik. There was always like that batch of 20. Kim Terrell. There was never like, oh, this week we get introduced to this up and newcomer. Now the game has changed. Like I get it now. Like now we're seeing Hope Gramley, Jillian Martin coming to join the ranks of say a Shannon O'Keefe and a Shannon Bluhowski. But back then, the people that she was bowling against, there was they cut to the top 24. Liz Johnson was never going to miss a top 24 in a field of 65 when it took a 201 average to cash.
Exactly.
That's what I mean is, so I'm not taking anything away from her, but I'm saying comparatively speaking, her numbers are slightly skewed for those reasons. And in my brain, when it comes to comparing it to the men's tour, where there are a lot more bowlers from week to week, and there's a lot more guys in contention to make those cuts and win those titles.
Then the last one is, this is going to be a different one because he never bowled on tour.
Okay.
But Mike Newman, in my opinion, is the greatest amateur bowler that ever lived.
I agree with that too.
How about Newman is the only person in the history of the ABC or USBC to win an eagle in every event in the same year?
I didn't even know that, and I thought he was the best before you said that.
So yeah, so just think of that one. Newman won singles, doubles, teams, all events, and team all events in 1 year. So 5 Eagles in 1 year.
That's
So give him
unheard of.
that. Give him that. The Team USA's, all the mega buck wins, all the overseas wins like Tim did. I mean, again, that's not what Dad did. That's not what Roth did. That's not what Ferraro did. Schaefer, whatever you want to call it. But
Let me ask you this question, Mike.
go ahead.
The year that he finished 6th at the Petraglia Open, there was a lot of talk amongst the crowd that because at that time, if you were to win, you would lose your amateur status. And there was a lot of talk that week that Newman kind of made sure that he backed himself out just enough to miss the show.
I remember that.
Now, I don't know if that's true, being that it would have been his first ever PBA telecast. Like, do you really not care about the prestige of winning at the highest level enough to preserve your career? Like, that takes a lot of structure in my brain to do that.
Yeah.
And Newman wasn't exactly structured in his brain to operate. So half of me thinks that, like, dude, that show that year was Walter, Amleto, Hoskins, Weber, and who the hell else made the show that year? The Turtle, Tim Chris. And he finished 6th. And that's a hell of an all-star studded field in front of you on there, man.
4 Hall of Famers right in front of you.
So I don't really necessarily know if it was partially nerves in that last game or not, but Newman was never the kind of guy to get nervous. So I still wonder, like, hey, well, maybe he did back out on purpose, but I guess we'd have to ask him.
I've talked to Robert about that when he made the show at the AC Delco in the 90s with Duke, actually. And he was in the same boat. If he won, he had to give away Team USA. And Robert said he didn't care. He was going for the win. Like
100%.
I just led a PBA tournament at 21 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my
center.
Pitching wedge from my house.
Exactly.
Against Norm Duke. The first
Robert
event of the year.
He goes, I didn't care if I kick me off Team USA. I don't care. I'd have a PBA title at 21 years old.
Totally.
So I don't know, but that's look, the Tapper's even saying it. Has there ever been anybody else that's been like Newman that's had that situation before, like able to make a show that in the amateur ranks? Like an amateur that was that close, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I've seen, Pat Healy made it at the Tournament of Champions in 1995 when Oldie completed the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
You saw it happen at the Masters a lot with guys like Jason Queen and Brett Wolf, but that, again,
that's a different.
When it comes to, I don't know if, like in 1995, Billy Myers Jr. made the show at my dad's tournament.
Yeah.
I don't know what would have happened to Billy Myers Jr.'s status had he won that tournament.
Was he not a member then, or no?
I think he was. Like, I don't know who was a member, who wasn't a member to really figure that one out.
Yeah. Really quick, I want to see if JD is still with us. I want JD to give us a Newman story. But he has to have a really good Mike Newman story as we're talking about him.
Yeah, I would hope that he's still here. But if he's not, I can also send him a message to
well, I'm sure.
Yeah, if you pop in, JD, give us a Mike Newman story.
Yeah, we want a Mike Newman story. But I don't know. I can't see him backing down.
No, neither can I. I can't see any athlete in any capacity deliberately trying to not perform their best. I see it happen in leagues all the time because people, for some reason, care about winning an extra $75 at the end of the league season. So they throw away 10 pins because that's a really awesome thing to do and like really admirable thing to do. Keep doing it, guys. And yeah, real classy San Diego. But other than that, I've never like I understand, like, if you want to burn clock when you're up 10 points in a basketball game, okay, I get that. I understand running nothing but running plays and protecting the football when you have a 3-point lead in the fourth quarter. Yeah. I get that. But you're protecting what you have.
Or
you're not trying
as the front 8.
Yeah, you're not trying to figure out a way to make yourself not perform at the highest level. I've never really understood that. So I've never understood how people can actually do it. So it's so, I'll say this in both ways, foreign if we're on the East Coast and foreign if we're on the West Coast to me and my brain for anybody to get up there and say, okay, I have the opportunity to complete something that I obviously give a shit about. I'm not going to do it. I don't know how you can turn your brain off in that moment to do that. So I can't really foresee that like Newman or anybody else would have backed out, because who's to say, okay, so you make the show, Mike, and now you qualify 5th. Now you can at least go have a good time on TV for 3 games. And then if you really want to lose the title match, take the 2nd place money of 20 grand instead of the 6th place money of 4,500 and then lose. And at least everybody gets to see you and you can perform for the crowd for three games.
And correct me if I'm wrong, he could have taken the money with only if he won, he'd have to forfeit his status, right?
Correct. Yes.
So he could have finished 5th, qualified 5th, finished 5th, and got the $5 grand for 5th place.
100%.
And still kept his amateur status.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would do that.
Yeah, that's why I said as much as I want to believe it, because I believe Mike is that good, I don't think anybody would do that.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
There was nobody. You know what? We should do this again. We kind of like doing these like debate things here, and I kind of like this. You know, we did the thing with the Hall of Fame about a couple months ago. We should do something like with the top 10 amateurs of all time.
That'd be a good one.
That would be.
I already got 5 of them.
Easily.
Hey, there we go.
Watch him play the crack with a Pearl Speed. That was a good ball, Pearl Speed Zone.
The Blue Vapor.
Yeah, and a Maxim playing 16 on the left.
That's
and the second part
ran him over. Yeah.
I heard a story from Timmy Mack about Newman. They were bowling. I want to say it was in Korea, Malaysia, Korea, somewhere in Asia, and they put up $100,000 bonus if you shot 300, and they were impossible, just completely impossible. First game of the tournament, Newman had a red Tour Power. How good was that Tour? Remember the Tour Power?
I had one, and I miss it terribly.
Is that the one you threw through the fence at Laurel Lanes? No,
that's the one I finished second high roller with at Carolier.
Okay. I knew there was one.
To Mike Mullen.
There's out of New York.
Another New York bowler that we didn't mention earlier.
Yeah. Newman, first game in a tournament, shot 300 with the ball, 100 grand.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He was that good. And anybody, JD or Spence is still watching, he was fantastic.
He sure was, man.
You know, we look at the top 10 amateurs. I think Newman's on the top of that list easily.
I've got him. He's up there with Tim Mack. I mean, to me and Alex. I mean, there's so many things. If we're gonna stick to 10 amateurs, I'm gonna try and figure out like based on facts alone, at least the way I put my facts together, where I really would rank them. And then I also would like to do some notable mentions, because I know there's going to be at least 5 people that should have been in one of our lists that isn't, or both of them.
Like JD.
We already mentioned him as one of the top ones. He was already in the list. So, like, okay, so take somebody like JD and somebody like Mike Newman. JD still bowls. Mike Newman doesn't. For whatever reason, Newman doesn't bowl at all. JD bowls local stuff. JD similar to Alex. Family guy, does shit at home, takes care of kids and his wife, bowls close, right? So that's his route. Still supplements his income bowling, still practices. There are other bowlers who, what if they kept doing that? We had mentioned Joe Pompilio. I don't think Joe Pompilio is bowling that much anymore.
He don't bowl anymore, period.
I know Mike Newman ain't bowling anymore.
No.
I know that Alex Aguiar bowls 1/10 of what he used to. But when he does bowl, he's still in contention.
Now, would you, if we're going to do this list, are we going to name amateurs or guys that were amateurs that went on to bowl on tour, like Barnes? Barnes' amateur career is fantastic as well.
I would like to keep it more to the guys who predominantly stuck amateur.
John Janowitz.
Yeah, of course. Like somebody like that. Somebody like a Steve Klemkin.
How about a Don Scudder?
Don Scudder. He really hit it at the bottom hard.
Oh my God. But that
he really sawed on it.
But he could split.
I know. The scuds.
He could split the seam like it was nobody's business.
Oh yeah.
But there were even guys that bowled on tour that stopped, like Steve Fair. I think a guy like Steve Fair, he won on tour, he stopped bowling on tour, had a good amateur career, Purvis is another one.
Purvis Granger, hell yeah.
Purvis never won on tour, but he had a hell of an amateur career once he stopped bowling on tour.
Like, for instance, you can't include Robert Smith in the
No.
amateurs because he is such a decorated professional.
Pat Healy's another one.
Pat Healy is another one, especially because he's a major titleist. Tim Mack only really bowled on tour for a relatively short stint. So to me, Tim Mack is still predominantly an amateur player. Even though he's always been professional status wherever he bowls, he has always been decorated as the best amateur player that's ever walked the planet, right?
Easily.
He doesn't have any national PBA titles.
No.
But he's very much involved in the PBA still because he's so decorated.
But see, that's where I'm going to give you this one. So I was talking to Timmy about a month ago. Technically speaking, 6 of his international titles are now considered professional titles.
Absolutely. The same thing
now,
with...
Do we consider him a national titleist? You see what I'm saying?
It's tricky. Parker Bowman III had a second major because they turned the Players' Championship into a retroactive major.
Yes. Correct.
Okay. My dad chose to not bowl the ABC Masters for like 15 years because he hated the format.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe he would have won one had he bowled?
Yeah.
Maybe. But the fact that he didn't, he missed out on at least 15 to 20 opportunities to win what is now not only a major but part of the Grand Slam. Like the Triple Crown just went out of nowhere. Oh, now we have these. We're going to call this the Super Slam. Well, it would have been nice for you to tell people that in their prime 15, 20 years ago that you were going to change this.
That picture on the wall there means nothing of those 4 guys because now it's just Super Slam, the Super Slam only.
Right.
That's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, so that's upsetting to me. And by the way, the Triple Crown ring is a huge rock with 3 massive diamonds in the middle. I don't see a Super Slam ring. I don't see anybody wearing a Super Slam ring.
Do they even still give the Triple Crown ring out? I don't think so, do they?
If they don't, it's a sin because that thing is stunningly beautiful.
Gorgeous. It's gorgeous. What other amateur, we'll wrap this up in a couple of minutes, what other guy can we say? Adam Barta?
100% Adam Barta.
JD gave us a good one. Renteria was a good one. But Renteria bowled on tour.
Paul Renteria was good. I don't put him nearly as good as all the other guys we're talking about. Sorry, Paul. But
how about this one? Joe Vito.
Joe Vito was one of the most enjoyable bowlers to watch for me. I thought he threw it great. I will watch more Joe Vito tonight because the few shows I have seen him, I love watching him bowl. And I know he had to be awesome.
Do you consider Rudy an amateur or consider Rudy the professional?
He's another one that I'm going to leave an amateur. Because other than like the few solid years that he was out there, most of his – see, that's a tricky one, man, because Rudy also never won on tour. How about we limit it to guys that never actually won on the national tour, just had stints on tour for less than a span of 8 years?
John, did Dave Gwindon – he was on tour, but did he win Rookie of the Year?
JD answer that. He's another one. If he never bowled on the regular tour, Gwindon is in my top 10. Hands down. He was another guy that always made them look easy when they weren't in the slightest bit.
We're forgetting one guy out of Florida.
Out of Florida.
A big man, like 6'5", 6'6".
Rick Miller? Is he from Florida?
John Gaines.
John Gaines. Oh, yeah. Another goodie.
That man got a handful.
Yeah, with no effort. Animal.
4 steps and started at the back of the approach. He was like 6'6". Yeah.
The fondest memory I have of John Gaines was when he was my boss at Bowlers Mart.
Okay.
And I guess you can say I got a little bit too intoxicated at a local party at like a Dave & Buster's or wherever we were.
Okay. You had a good time.
And I'm pretty sure I decided that I was still in Vegas, so it was just cool to light up a cigarette while I was all hammered. And the staff was trying to throw me out, and I was trying to tip the doorman like, no, it's good, man. Just let me smoke this cigarette in here. And the next thing I know is I turn around, and Gaines is right in front of me, and all he was doing was just walking with me backwards, pushing me out the door. And I tried to say something, and he just said to me, don't say another word. And he just kept moving forward. I'm like, I'm going to listen to you now, sir. I'm going to get out of here.
I like Gaines. Gaines was another good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anybody else? So you want to do this based on guys that never won on tour, you're saying?
Yeah, or had very, very short stints on tour. You know? That's a good one. Billy Rowe out of Canada, for sure.
Yep. Nick Vogelsang's another one.
Another great one. Another really awesome one.
Right?
No, he made a show.
He did make a show. He never won on tour.
Remember that show because he went to Brooklyn 3 times.
What about the Edens?
Like Mike Eaton? How about Chad Murphy?
On to the next one. There's so many.
There's so many.
Like the Team USA guys.
I mean, we mentioned Bogosian earlier. You got to throw Bogosian up there somewhere.
Bill Hoffman.
Oh my God, Bill Hoffman. Like I said, I also said Rick Miller. You had mentioned. I mean, there's so many good, fantastic amateur players out there.
Derwin Petrie.
That whole gang, man, deadly. Chris Sand.
Sand was another good one.
What's the other? Not Chris Seach. The other Chris with Viali that really like flung it at the bottom. No, the lefty with Chris Soul. Chris Soul.
Soul, yeah, Soul.
Mm-hmm.
And we put Litchie on that list. We put Mike Litchie on that list.
Mike is 100% on that list.
You put Mike and you put Alex on that list.
100%.
100%. And you throw Janowitz on that list.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I can't think of anything else. Does JD have anything else? Because JD is very chatty right now.
This is why you got to get in one of these shows one day, man. When I send you the link, just accept it next time.
What we should do the next one together. And then, what do you call it? Somebody just messaged me and said Matt McNeil. Matt's an interesting one. I guess you want to consider Matt as an amateur.
I don't know.
His record at the Nationals speaks for itself.
100%, no doubter.
But he does bowl on tours, made a couple shows, never won. So I guess, would you put McNeil in that list of those guys from the 90s and the early 2000s? What do you think?
I'm thinking.
That's a good one.
That's a tricky one for me.
What did Matt have? 4 or 5 Eagles?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, if this was a USBC Nationals top 10, Matt's the winner.
Matt McNeil is on the number 1.
Do I put him in my top 10 amateur bowlers that never won a PBA title on tour? No.
I'll throw another name out for you. Got the head coach from McKendree.
Shannon O'Keefe?
Brian O'Keefe.
Brian O'Keefe, another awesome amateur player. I didn't get to watch enough of him, but yes, another.
Sam Landco just got texted out to me.
Oh.
All right, so how about we wrap it up? When are we doing? Well, so we got to finish our list. So what are we doing with New York here? We got to give it to Mark. Does it have to give it to Mark?
Yeah, I'd like to give it to Mark for New York.
All right. So just to recap our opinion: Parker out of New Jersey, Roth out of New York, Bill O'Neill out of Pennsylvania, Danny Wiseman, Maryland, Jim Johnson Jr. out of Delaware,
Wayne Webb out of Mass, and Alex Aguiar, because we didn't know Wayne Webb was from Mass.
Correct. John Van Hees out of Rhode Island. Vermont, we have nobody there.
We have nobody in Vermont. We have Steve Hardy,
New Hampshire. And if Brian Voss was, in fact, born in the state of Maine, it is Brian Voss. If not, it's Pete Couture and Mike Lickstein out of Connecticut.
I like it.
So now we have 6 other regions to do.
Okay, then.
So
can't wait to get to Florida and Texas. That should be easy.
How about California?
God. We might have to do a show just for those states.
So, really quick.
Yeah.
Barry Asher, Walter Ray, Larry Lobb, Mike McGrath, Steve Cook, Jim Godman, Randy Peterson, Glenn Allison.
Robert Smith.
Robert Smith, another one.
Eric Forkel. I mean, the list goes on and on.
You know, you got a ton out of there. The Midwest is where it gets a little confusing, too. Just really quick, state of Indiana, Don Johnson, Mike Albee.
Okay. Go to Ohio. Dave DeEntremont. Who
Roy
else is out of
Buckley. Mike
Roy
Durbin.
Buckley, Durbin.
Steve Fair, Ted Hannes, Jim Pensack, Tommy Hudson. There's a lot, man. So
yeah, it's going to be tough.
So I think maybe we'll do the next one. Maybe we'll try to do it together.
Sounds good to me.
Maybe I'll take a trip up to Howell. We can do it at Rev Rates.
That would be a great spot to do it.
It would be a great spot to do it.
And typically, since I'm filling in there while I'm actually back in New Jersey, and if I'm done at 7:30, you come set up. We can do it right there from the approach in Rev Rates because it's usually low times anyway, especially with all the kids bowling Junior Gold this week.
When are you available for the next episode here?
Well,
I'll let you. You'll be sitting in for me as long as Justin is still on the road. I got to figure out how to do the streaming. I don't think I'm streaming to every platform we're on. I was told that it's not on the Facebook.
Would you ever want to do it on? Could you do it on like Tuesday, July 26th?
Oh, do we have to wait that long?
No.
You're looking at your calendar like 3 weeks in advance. Well, you do your show every Wednesday still, right?
I do my shows on Monday and Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay. And I bowl league on Thursday.
So ideally, Tuesday is the best day to do it.
Tuesday's the best day. So if you are around next Tuesday.
And whether I'm working or not, we can just go to Rev Rates and set up shop there.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are available next Tuesday, we will do another one next Tuesday. Maybe
that is the 19th. I am 100% available next Tuesday.
19th. We will do another, maybe try to get 2 regions next week.
Sounds good.
Just think about who you're going to take out of the state of Missouri.
Pete Weber.
How about Dick Weber?
Pete Weber.
Nelson Burton Jr.
Pete Weber.
All right, so let's wrap this one up. Thank
you. Maybe Mike Ramaklis for the amateurs.
Mike Ramaklis was fantastic.
Fucking sensational.
Yeah, so
sensational.
And he's bowling again.
Mm-hmm.
He is still bowling, but we will continue this next week. So, John, thanks for sitting in.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. We'll be back next week with Johnny. Once again, this was another episode of the world-famous Bone and Zano Zone, sponsored by Buddy's Pro Shop. Visit buddysproshop.com and enter code ZONE5OFF for 5% off your next purchase. Until next week, I am Mike Val with Johnny Jr. We will be back together next week for the second edition of Best Bowler out of every state. Goodbye, everybody.